All right, welcome to Season 5, Episode 12, which is also Episode 148 of Retro Game Club Podcast. I am Rob, and joining me is someone who is a new character in the Mortal Kombat reboot, Hugh.
That's right. My special ability is running in fear. That's my special move. Yeah.
You should have you watched the trailer or anything about the reboot?
No. I heard that they were making Mortal Kombat 1, which I assume, I have no idea, is canonically replacing the original.
Yeah, it's like a different universe. I get one of the characters, again, I'm not a Mortal Kombat guy, so please don't scream at your podcast player, but one of the guys is rewriting history, and so I think this takes place a long time ago too, so there's no Johnny Cage because there's no movie theaters, you know what I mean? Well, there is a Johnny Cage, but he's like some special character. It's hard to explain.
So it's really it's Mortal Kombat 0 more than 1 then.
Yeah, but it is a reboot. Jean-Claude Van Damme is in it.
Okay.
John Cena's in it. And it is like real gore, like not cartoony. And I think like I like gore, like I like the Evil Dead type movies, but I don't think like at the end of every battle I want to see like straight up the most gross gore you've ever seen over and over again.
Yeah, but there's sort of a difference between like Evil Dead and Saw, right? And I think the Mortal Kombat games have been progressing more towards Saw.
That's a good point.
Right. So I'm not really a fan of what I've seen from the newer ones.
No, I hear the story's great, but again, like I always sucked at it. I could never get used to the block button. You know, I'm kind of a pull back to block kind of guy. So I just never really Mortal Kombated much.
Well, I mean, I played a ton of the first 2 Mortal Kombat games. I really couldn't tell you what the story is.
I've seriously been told like the story from like 9, 10, and 11 have been great.
Okay.
And I hear they're great games.
Yeah, I mean, I like, I like games with a good story, of course, like if it's an RPG, but for fighting games, I never really understood why there would be a story, but what do I know?
Yeah. But we haven't talked in a while. What have you been up to? I know you've been busy with everything.
Yeah, it's busy. I mean, start of summer and all that stuff. So what have I been doing? I wrote down in the notes here that I just closed like an idiot. There they are. What have I actually looked at in the past week? So, well, one, I guess Summer Games Done Quick like starts today, the day that we're recording. Mm-hmm. So I do want to fire that up. I've got like a Kindle over here, and I hear Amazon owns Twitch now, so I assume you can watch Twitch on the Kindle. So I guess I'll have that running in the background over the next week. I don't even know what I want to watch on it yet. So that's really exciting. Mm-hmm. I watched this really funny speed run. There's a ROM hack called Super Mario Brothers 2 Super Fast Edition.
Okay.
Where I guess they just basically took out all like any kind of frame delay. All these old systems technically run at like 60 frames per second because, they redraw the entire screen 60 times a second. Mm-hmm. But you wouldn't want Mario actually moving at that speed because that would be painful. But I guess this essentially plays where the characters move on like every single frame or something like that. But it's a much faster version of Mario 2. And the speed run to complete the entire game is 2 minutes and 5 seconds.
Wow. Cool.
Yeah, it was really it's a short speed run that's kind of fun to watch. A site we mention a lot, I don't know if this counted as news or not, but over on Nicole.express, that's the domain, mm-hmm. There is a review of the RGB Blaster. So this is from the maker of the EverDrive, and this is a attachment for like a Famicom that lets you output RGB.
Okay.
And you apparently can use like light guns and stuff with it too. But what's interesting is because all the stuff on this page is like super detailed, so it goes into like which games don't work with this attachment and why they don't work because they're doing something you're not supposed to do, but that happens to not be a problem until you try and implement this type of adapter.
Interesting. It looks like a good idea. So, yeah, I wonder if they would make it for the top-loading NES. Because it wouldn't work in the standard NES, right? It wouldn't fit.
Yeah, it wouldn't fit. Yeah. Yeah, well, it's different pins. So you'd have to have a Famicom to NES pin converter.
Mm-hmm. Pray all that just works.
Yeah, exactly. Those are probably the big things. Actually, while I was thinking about it, I opened up the Summer Games. What else here? Are we going to talk about that Amico email?
I kind of want to, just because it's hilarious. It's the saddest email I've ever received.
Yeah. So I didn't pre-order an Amico, but I did sign up on their mailing list because I was like curious to see if the system ever happened. I kind of predicted it never would. I think my exact prediction was that Atari would end up buying the IP at bankruptcy auction and then releasing a thing that said Amico on the front that played in television ROMs. But that actually seems less likely now. So I read their email as someone asking ChatGPT to write an email explaining that you're never going to ship hardware and instead are planning to be an IP licensing company.
Yeah, how do you tell people you're not going to ship hardware without saying you're not going to ship hardware? That's what this email was. It was kind of like if someone's breaking up with you, if you're breaking up with someone and you just don't want to come out and say it. It's just like run-on sentence after run-on sentence.
Yeah. Yeah, and then the funny part is they aren't even like this idea that you could get a system that plays in television ROMs. That probably isn't even going to be a thing because the first thing they did after sending this out was literally sell off IP. They sold off Astrosmash and Shark. Probably
their two biggest IPs.
Two of the big ones. I mean, Astrosmash, I think people have heard of. I think most people have at least heard of it. Like, in television wasn't a super popular system, but
I mean, other than that, you have like Frogbog, right?
Frogbog, yeah. I'm trying to think of the stuff that went to M Network. Those kind of games, because those would have had a little more exposure, because they were on the Atari. But yeah, I mean, so at this point, even this idea that you would get a system played in television ROMs, well, they don't own these games anymore. Like, they would have to license Astrosmash now to use it on their own system.
Oh, it's
if they made a new system. They if you look at like the press release about selling these IPs, it basically said like Intellivision retained the rights to use these on the Amico if it ever launches.
Okay, but they couldn't make their own mobile game of it.
I mean, again, I don't know the details, but they probably could not do anything else with it other than release what they claim they're going to release on the system that they're not going to release.
Yeah, I mean, again, like in 2017 to 2019, the Amico was an okay idea. Simple games for when you have like grandma over and stuff like that. But I mean, things changed quickly. That door closed pretty quickly on them, and there is no point to any of this.
I don't know about the grandma over part so much anymore. I mean, there are people my age who have grandkids, right? I literally know people my age who have grandkids. Like, someone I went to college with has grandkids, right?
Yeah.
Like, so the idea that grandma has no idea what a video game is, like, that can't stick around much longer.
But the fact that they're simple enough that the grandkids will also understand them too. Like, everyone collectively in the room will be able to play this simple game and not have to really learn, And
yeah, you mean the kids that have been playing Fortnite since they were in diapers? Those kids?
I don't know. But no, I mean, my kid, he plays video games like every day, but once you get a few too many buttons in there, he's still a little bit confused. And he's 7, so I could still see simple games being a thing. But I still see, I mean, like in 2018, now you have a Switch. There's no point. This from the beginning should have been Switch games, and if they wanted to make a cool controller for it, they should have. And that's it.
Yeah. I mean, the things they've shown off so far, it's like, I don't know, I forget how much money they've raised, but like the games they've shown off for the system are like game jam games.
Yeah. Yeah. Like we know Rebecca Heinemann wrote one. It probably took her an afternoon. You know
Right.
what I mean?
And I'm like, this is what tens of millions of dollars gets you. Like, you know, I've done some game demos. I understand what goes into it. Like, I feel like the like shark demo they're showing around, I could probably write.
It totally, yeah. And I mean, you could probably get ChatGPT to write. And another thing we talked about a few episodes ago was the fact that their names are so generic that, and they're so old now that only people our age would maybe recognize them. Like, you know, Shark and Frog, like B-17 Bomber. That's so generic. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Or Ski or whatever. You know, it's so generic. So who
Yeah.
cares? No one's going to license it.
Right. And if the target demographic, again, is people who had an Intellivision that want to play Intellivision branded games with their kids. Well, I mean, I got a kid who's 20, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't think she's interested in sitting down and playing Frog Bog.
Yeah. Even if it's updated with neon graphics or whatever they were doing.
Right. I mean, the only Frog Bog IP that would work. I know we're like way off topic here. Like, for my kids would play a game called Frog Bog if the frogs were sort of like anthropomorphic people, right?
Okay.
So they were like sort of human type frogs, and you were building the bog. Like, you
Okay.
arrive in the bog and you have to buy your lily pad and then develop it, and you know, then there were like maybe some mini games, basically Animal Crossing but with frogs.
Yeah, it has to attract flies somehow.
Yeah, right. You have to build something to attract flies. You got a can of pop or something. I don't know what. But yeah, like that. Like, if it was a game where you were developing the Frog Bog and maybe some mini games.
So this started when? Beginning of 2017, I think. So let's call it 5.5 years ago, right? I have zero product experience. I have limited OS experiences, like, you know, like putting together a Linux distro, stuff like that. And I have no game experience.
Okay.
Had I had no job, I think I could have come up with a Raspberry Pi like system on a chip. Well, system on a board, really. You know, because it has the USB outs and stuff like that. A decent case and a very simple Ubuntu derived video game OS. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
Like, there's enough information out there to get you started. I don't know how they spent these millions of dollars. Even if they just got, like, you know, you spend $200,000 on an OS genius and $200,000 on a, I don't know, PCB and case engineer. That should have taken less than a year. Yeah, I don't know what these people were doing.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, very unfortunate.
Yeah. All right. Well, let us never speak of this again.
Yes, unless one of us receives one in the mail somehow, which will never happen.
Yeah. They can make me a beta tester or something. I have no social media presence to share the results on. I would be the worst influencer ever. And then I guess there's this new Zelda game I've played. That's about it.
Yeah, how far are you? How many hours in are you?
Probably a lot, but I don't want to. Everyone hasn't started it. I know people are kind of going at their own pace. Like, I have not started the main story at all. I basically got to where, you know, you get the. I assume it's not a spoiler to note that you get the paraglider, because I think everyone assumes you get that early in the game.
Yeah.
But once I got that, I was just like, see you all later. I'm going to go fill out the map. But there's like 3 maps now. And after I fill out the map, then maybe, you know, I'll start the story. You know, it's going to be 5 years at least before there's another new Zelda game.
Exactly, yeah.
I don't really feel like rushing through the main story.
I was slow rolling it as well. I was actually gonna take like a day off work, but to play it, but I got sick, too sick to actually play video games. So I actually took like a week off of it. Uh,
Yeah. Too sick to play video games is pretty sick.
oh yeah, seriously, like when I was sick, like I was this time, I understand like what extremely old people do, like when they're just like staring at their wall in their old person's home. Like that was me for an entire week. I get it.
Mm.
When everything hurts. Uh, but this is a very impressive game. It really is. And I like that it's different than all the other Zelda games, which is funny because I don't like Majora's Mask because it's different and annoying.
Mm-hmm.
This I think they got right. I think we have a few news items. We wanna do some news.
Yeah. Sure. I didn't look at any of these, so you're...
No, it's fine. It's fine. I could read these. So,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
by the way, everyone, if my voice is really sexy, that's because I've been coughing a lot. But so this is a YouTube channel that's pretty new that I put up here, and it is called Mr. Retro Wolf, and it is what 5 videos, which is an intro on programming cores for an FPGA. So pretty much Mr. Programming. And
Okay.
it really gets you started. It's really cool, really well done. I recommend it if anyone's interested.
So related to that, like, I guess since we last recorded, the Analog released the pre-orders for the TurboGrafx PC Engine
Duo, yeah.
clone Duo, whatever they call it. And I thought, for the price, I'm like, that's a pretty good deal. Like, I think they wanted $250 for it. Now, of course, I have bought products from Analog. The rub on them is like, whatever the price of the product is, double it for shipping.
I think my shipping was 17. I think.
Really? Because I mean, like, I ordered like a Game Gear adapter for the Pocket, and that was like $40.
I could be
no,
wrong.
I'm not kidding. Like, I think a guy wearing like white gloves will hand deliver it to me.
I was in a fever dream, in a NyQuil dream when I ordered it.
Okay. But I was looking at it and I just realized, like, because the software for that is based on GPL code, they have to like release the code for it.
Mm-hmm.
And that the code for that Analog Duo is just a fork of the Mr. PC Engine code.
Yeah. Yeah, it's all
So-
open FPGA.
Yeah, so I guess you're buying, and I don't know anything about, like, the problem is every time I'm like, ooh, maybe I'll get one of these Mr. boxes. They're either like $800 or $150, and I can't tell you what the difference between those two boxes are. So, like, I don't know if the 800 is a ripoff or if the 150 is the ripoff because it isn't functional.
I'll
Right.
send you a link to what you want, but really what it is you don't want to build it yourself because it's kind of annoying. And there's a place called Mr. Add-ons. There's a few places, but the one everyone kind of goes to in these states is Mr. Add-ons. And you get the case and everything you need, and it just comes assembled for the exact price. There's like no markup of like if you bought everything yourself.
Okay. Yeah, that would be helpful because I'm really curious about it. But that's why I didn't order one, though, because I'm like, oh, well, maybe I should just look at getting one of these Mr. things down the road.
I recommend
Although I have
it.
like other projects I want to do too. I have so many projects I want to do, so I may or may not do that.
It's so simple, and you could throw out most of your Raspberry Pis and Android devices because it just does everything, you know?
Yeah.
But next in the news, did you put this one or did Zach or did I? I don't know.
I added no news.
Okay. Mega Man The Sequel Wars. So this is pretty cool. So this is Mega Man 4, 5, and 6, but recoded, I want to say, or I guess ported to the Genesis as kind of one game, one collection. So the graphics are updated to be all 16-bitty, and it looks nice. It looks like a good idea. I have not played it yet, but you know, the the screenshots and the video make it look pretty neat.
Yeah, well, download it before it gets a takedown letter.
Yep. We got 2 Doom playing on things
Okay,
items.
these are always fun. All right.
Yes. So the first one is Doom on it's Doom Eternal on a $10 desktop calculator.
Okay, so that's a more recent version of Doom.
I guess so. I've never played Doom Eternal.
Well, it says it's from 2020.
Wow.
So
yeah.
it's fairly recent. So it seems that like it would take a somewhat powerful computer. But this is a calculator, desktop calculator is $25.
$10.
Well, 10 if you buy them used. It's
okay.
25 list price, but some people find them used for 10. I guess this must be fairly old. But I apparently must have a pretty yeah, it talks about all the logistics you have to go through because it doesn't have a keyboard, so like even if you install Doom, it asks you for like a key code of some kind and you have to do a bunch of work. This is again Doom Eternal. Original Doom would not really be a problem.
Yeah.
But they show it running like an NES emulator. It looks like they're playing Star Tropics or something in it. I'm looking what other systems they have on here. I see a Super Nintendo emulator running on it. So maybe I don't need a Mister at all. I'll just get one of these.
Exactly. Yeah. And you could do math too. And then I think the better of these 2 articles, Doom running on teletext. So do you know what teletext is?
Yes. I mean, I couldn't give a detailed explanation, but I've certainly heard of it.
For our listeners, it's like pre-interactive TV. It was more popular in Europe. It kind of came to the States, but so when you have cable TV, there could be channels or options that are really like ASCII and ANSI based, maybe rudimentary graphics at best, but it almost looks like a bulletin board system. So, it would show you like maybe news headlines and weather or traffic, stuff like that. Maybe it was a menu to, do some pay-per-view or something, but this streams Doom over it. And it looks really funny.
Yeah, I mean, Doom isn't running on that box. It's
through
running
it,
on
I
a
guess.
PC, and the video is being output to that through a Raspberry Pi that is remapping it somehow. I mean, it's a really cool project. Doom looks absolutely horrible on it, but I think that's I don't think they care how it looks, right? It's just more can I make this work aspect to it.
Yeah. And then our topic is Doom this week.
Yeah, I guess so.
So
Doom
we watched
running on the movie theater.
Yeah. Yes. So we watched what year was this movie? Do we even know? 2005. The Doom with The Rock.
Doom movie with The Rock. Yeah, so that's our top. We decided over our start of summer we would watch separately the we didn't like rent out a theater or something. The Doom movie with The Rock. And this is streaming. You watched this on Tubi?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I watch it on Peacock. It's commercial free on Peacock, which is good because the movie's a little too long.
Oh yeah, I did watch it there too. That's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I think it's also on Tubi if you want to watch it with commercials.
Yeah, which would like double the length of the movie.
Yes.
So do you want to start out your thoughts, or I don't know if you know any background to this movie or anything?
No, I didn't really look up the history of the movie at all. I actually did see it many years ago.
We should tell people we're going to spoil the hell out of this movie.
Yeah, if you are... I think there's maybe only one plot twist in the movie.
Yeah, I think you're right.
So there's not a whole lot to spoil, but the movie's called, it's called Doom, obviously. It actually seems to be based on Doom 3. It doesn't really seem to be based on Doom 1 and 2 at all. And I saw this movie a while ago. I didn't really remember it all that well. I only remembered the one scene towards the end, really. And, I remember my impression of it was that it was kind of a bad Aliens knockoff. And watching it again and like taking notes, it's definitely a bad Aliens knockoff. They even have a character that is like an even cringier version of the character Bill Paxton played. I guess Bill Paxton was never cringy in Aliens, but sort of take his character, but then have like add harassment to his personality.
Every female employee in this facility gets sexually harassed at least 2 times during this movie.
Yeah, yeah. It's
Like, it's
not
totally
a,
normal.
it's not a safe work environment at all.
No.
It is set in the year 2026 though.
Yes. Do you remember what the plot is? Because I watched this like a month ago at this point.
Well, the plot is that the government, to kind of spoil it, like the government is doing research on these ruins they found in Mars, but secretly they're trying to study like alien genetics for nefarious purposes. There's like these evil alien things that when they don't really bite you, they like shoot kind of like a, not a face hugger because it's smaller, but like an equivalent of a face hugger at you. That then infects you, and then you mutate into being one of these alien creatures.
Kind of like the creatures, yeah, from Doom.
From Doom 3, though. It's specifically a monster from Doom 3. So, because I don't really remember any creatures from any of the other games. I just remember kind of like the main, white sort of blubbery monster. That's the main thing in Doom 3. So
that's the one I
seems
played the least. I did like Doom 1, Doom 2, Doom 64.
Yeah. So I'm not a Doom 3 expert at all. I just know that creature is like, it's the equivalent of the it's not the boss, but it's kind of the main monster you fight. I don't actually know what it is. It's called, well, I guess it's the Hell Knight, but it doesn't really look like a Hell Knight from Doom 1 and 2. It's just a very different looking creature. But anyhow, so that's the idea. Like the labs are secretly, trying to learn the genetics of the aliens to create, I don't know, alien human hybrids or whatever kind of evil things the government wants to do. Maybe train these things to be soldiers. I don't know. It's kind of the same premise as aliens, if you think about it, right?
So we should mention this is on Mars.
Yes.
Not Earth. The labs are on Mars, and they get there through some Stargate kind of thing.
It was Stargate thing, yeah, because the Marines all start off on Earth, and then they teleport, basically, to Mars. And then they teleport back to Earth at one point, too.
And one guy only gets half his body beamed over, and then they turn his bottom half into... They don't give him a wheelchair. The bottom half of his body turns into a wheelchair. Okay. With science or something.
With science, okay. Yeah, I thought it'd be funnier if he was sliced vertically instead of horizontally.
Yeah.
That would have made for a more interesting character.
So instead of giving him cool robot legs like Darth Maul, they give him a robot wheelchair.
Yes. So anyhow, bad stuff is happening at this lab. So the Rock and the other space Marines have to go there to investigate and find a missing scientist who's like the sister of one of the other space Marines.
Carl Urban. Carl Urban's sister.
Yes. So you noted that like when the Rock gets the call for this mission, he's at his like office, I guess, his Marine office, just sitting there with no shirt on.
Yeah, just flexing at the computer. Yeah. His teeth are whiter than white. Like he makes the lead singer Winger look like he have bad teeth. That's how white the Rock's teeth are in this movie. Yeah,
well, he probably like I'm gonna guess. So the Rock had been, 2000. When was this made? 2005. So he'd been in the WWF. He debuted in like '96. Probably some bad things that happened to the teeth. I'm sure those are not all the original.
Was this his first movie?
No, he was in the Mummy movies before this.
Oh, that was before. Okay.
Yeah.
I've never seen those.
Okay, yeah, he was in 2 of the Mummy movies before this, I think.
And Dr. Carmack is a character in this movie.
Yeah. Well, I have some reference. There's a lot of things that I think are kind of funny. So, like, the Marines, when they go just to take they're on Earth. They're not even on the mission yet. But just to take the elevator to go to the floor of the space teleporter, they all have their guns out. I just thought that was hilarious. They all, like, have them out in, like, I'm going to shoot up somebody position.
Yeah.
Even though they're literally just taking the elevator to another floor. I thought that was kind of funny. I thought the scientist that's the sister, they're really strange with their character because they're trying to portray her sometimes as like this smart, intelligent scientist, but then she also gets hysterical woman syndrome a lot. Like, you ever watch a Hitchcock film, like the birds.
Mm-hmm.
You know, all the women in there have hysterical woman syndrome. Like they see a bird and they just yeah, you know, like
Yeah,
totally.
I can't think. I'm not.
I,
Yeah.
I could just stand here and scream against this wall, right?
Yeah.
And she goes from like, you know, smart scientist to hysterical woman pretty quickly in this movie. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know about that. But yeah, so she's there. She's doing, you know, again, this. She thinks her research is being used for good, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And we're getting to the point where I said this movie's too long. So it's about the 1 hour mark. I realized there's still like an hour left of the movie, and I'm like, oh, I don't know about this. And then the plot twist is that The Rock, who presumably is the main billing of this movie, kind of turns out to be the bad guy.
Yeah, we should say an Easter egg in it is when he does the little turnaround near the beginning.
Yeah.
And he does the Doom guy brow and smile thing.
Yeah.
The little shifty eye thing.
Yeah, so you think he's the lead, but he actually turns out to kind of be the bad guy because he's like, look, I'm here to do my job. My job is to kill all the scientists, murder everybody is like the order that comes in from the government. At some point, the government decides we just have to kill everybody on the space. I'm trying to remember how they got to that conclusion. But The Rock's like, yep, let's go kill them all. The guy who is actually the lead, you said Carl Urban?
Yeah.
He's like, I'm not going to kill everybody, Rock. And then The Rock gets infected by the alien virusy thing and ends up, you know, starting to mutate, and there's a big confrontation between him and the actual hero of the movie.
So what do you think, like, what are the positives of this movie?
So towards the end, there is the first person scene.
Which is like 15 minutes long.
It feels like it's, 15 minutes long, where it actually goes into view of the main character as he's just going through tunnels, blasting aliens.
Yeah, even the gun when he's walking around kind of moves that way. Yeah.
Yeah. So it looks like Doom at that point. I'm like, they could have just... I can't remember if I said this on the show before when we were talking about watching the Doom movie, but I legitimately prefer like a Doom long play to this movie.
Yeah.
Like it's more entertaining.
Mm-hmm.
And if the whole movie was just like first person shooter with no plot at all, it would have been a little bit better. You know, maybe a tiny bit of plot, like, hey, Doom guy, you got to go save these scientists. Okay, I'm on it. And then,
but it was really cool how they did that, though. Like, it was unexpected for me.
Yeah, yeah.
And Carl Urban does look like Doom guy. I never noticed that before.
Kind of, yeah. I mean, I don't know. He's from something else. I know it sounds awful.
He's in what? He's in Lord of the Rings. He's in
He was in Lord of the Rings.
He's in that The Boys TV show. I don't know if you've watched that. He's pretty good in that.
I haven't even heard of that.
I'm trying to think what else.
Well, let's see. His career began in Xena, which I may have seen.
Mm-hmm.
I actually don't see Lord of the Rings. I see Born Supremacy, Doom, Thor, and I don't see Lord of the Rings in his resume here.
Then The Hobbit. It's one of those, I think.
Okay, hold on. Let's read the. Wait, here we go. Here, yeah, it's not. It's not in the. His Wikipedia headline doesn't include Lord of the Rings. I don't know why they go for everything else, but yeah, he plays Eomer. I don't know which one that is, but clearly had enough makeup on that I didn't recognize him. And then Doom, Pathfinder, plays McCoy in the Star Trek reboot.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Star Wars: Rise of Skywalker, plays a stormtrooper.
Everyone did.
Yeah, I would ask to get that taken off my Wikipedia page if I was him. Okay, all right. So yeah, that's just weird. Like,
he has a pretty big resume. Yeah,
he does. Yeah, or I somehow missed it in his description.
He's in those horrible Vin Diesel movies, Riddick.
Well, yeah. Oh, okay, yeah. Okay, well there you go. So he's done a lot of stuff. A lot of the TV shows seem to be things that were in New Zealand that I obviously didn't see.
I did, while you're looking at that, I did want to mention, for a planet with no water, Mars sure has a lot of water in this. And Earth gravity. It has both of those things.
It does have Earth gravity, which does does seem weird to me. Yeah.
I'd say another plus of this movie is I think they got the tunnels and the doors pretty accurate.
That they did, yeah. Like the colored key cards, like you have in actual Doom.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's pretty good. Yeah, there's a few things in it that I think were okay, but I mean overall, I would just rather watch Aliens again.
Yeah, I mean, but this is a video game movie, and I think I would put it in the upper half of the video game movies.
Yeah, if you're gonna stack rank video game movies, it's better than a lot of them for sure.
Mm-hmm. I mean, my son cannot stop watching the Mario movie, and oh, man, that is a boring movie. It is so boring.
Yeah, I still haven't seen it, but
I'd rather watch this.
It'll be streaming on something eventually, and I'll see it.
I think it already. I mean, he's been watching it. It already is.
Well, what's it streaming on? Hold on, I'll open this up.
I think we got it on Amazon. I forget what we got it on.
Oh,
we got it on something.
Okay, hold on. SUPER Mario. The Super Mario Bros. Movie 2023. Let's see here. It is. You can rent it or buy it on Prime Video.
There you go.
So I'm guessing you
probably
whether you know it or not, you bought it on Prime Video.
Yes, because
it's not just streaming on Prime Video.
It's on 7 times a day.
Yes, you can buy it from Apple TV or Prime Video. It is not streaming free anywhere right now.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, there you go. There's a lot of video games from this time that I'm surprised they haven't made a video game or a movie for. Like there's no Final Fight game yet. Or sorry, there's no Final Fight movie. No Streets of Rage movie. I don't think
so. I don't know if those were big enough franchises. The one from the same time period. So if the movie was 2005,
mm-hmm.
the movie that should exist is a Grand Theft Auto movie.
Mm-hmm.
Because Grand Theft Auto, Grand Theft Auto 5, I think, has sold more than any video game ever.
Yeah.
I believe it's the highest selling video game ever. And I could Google that, but I'm pretty confident in that prediction. And 2005, it was certainly a popular franchise. I mean, Vice City was, Grand Theft Auto 3 was out, Vice City was out. San Andreas might have been out. Was that 2004? Was that 2005 that came out?
It was around there too. Yeah, I think that was around 2005. I know I played it in 2006.
Yeah, so I am surprised there has not been a Grand Theft Auto movie.
We forgot to mention the Galaxian 2 handheld that's in this. I never heard of it. I just called it an Alibaba handheld, but you knew right what it was.
So just for the record, before someone decides to send me a correction, I'm actually wrong. Grand Theft Auto 5 has sold 180 million approximate copies. Something has sold 50 million more than that.
Minecraft.
It is Minecraft, yes.
Yeah. Which Minecraft has TV shows and movies and stuff.
Yes, and then the 2006 remake of Tetris somehow sold 100 million copies. And then fifth place, Wii Sports at almost 83 million copies.
Makes sense. Makes perfect sense.
Yes. I mean, no one bought Wii Sports, but yes.
Yeah. Yes.
I know they sold Wii Sports later when they released like the red Wii that didn't have a pack-in game, or maybe had a different packing game that wasn't Wii Sports but had a packing game.
Mm-hmm.
But this obviously is just how many original Wii systems sold.
Any other Doom comments?
Let me go back to my notes here because we did miss the handheld, at the end there.
The white guy. The white people apparently can't pronounce Japanese names, so when the one Japanese guy says his name, he just says, "Okay, I'll call you Mac."
Mm-hmm.
So that happened.
That happened, yeah. So I was watching this movie alone. My wife was out running errands. That's why I decided to watch the Doom movie.
Mm-hmm.
But she got home and watched like the last 45 minutes with me. And she absolutely hated it. That's her feedback on the movie. The 45 minutes that she saw, she thought was terrible. And at the final fight, she does not watch pro wrestling, but she speculated that literally any match The Rock was in was probably better.
She's probably not wrong.
Yeah, I mean, I can think of several Rock matches from WWF that were definitely better than that final fight. I mean, any like Rock Steve Austin match is better than that fight.
Than The Rock, Carl Urban.
Yeah, The Rock versus Carl Urban stuntman. Yes, literally.
Yes, yeah, yeah. Doom guy versus Doom guy.
Yeah.
Shall we move to Game Club?
Yes. Yeah. Let's do that.
All right. Well, I did Bloody Wolf on the TurboGrafx 16. That port was released in 1990, and you play Eagle or Snake are the characters, and it's a side view run and gun, like Mercs Contra type game. And I mean, there's not much to say about this game. You got to save the president. You have a knife. You start out with a machine gun, I think. You have grenades, other certain power-ups, bazookas, spread shot, that kind of thing. You can get something. Oh, what the heck is it called? They call muscle emphasis tablets to make you stronger, which I think, is that just the PC term for roids?
It means roids, yeah.
Yeah, so this
roids. Although I've never known those to be in pill form, but why not?
Yeah. And then you could get a rabbit's foot, which can randomly negate damage. I think that one only works once. Like fins to swim faster, stuff like that. You could get on a motorcycle, which while on the motorcycle, you don't take damage, but the second you're off that motorcycle, it seems to always drop you in the worst spot possible. So I just don't like. I don't know. This game, the play control is just, it's not the best. It's something you get used to. And I would just call this game okay. The graphics aren't horrible. They're not great. TurboGrafx is supposed to have 16-bit graphics, and I mean, this barely looks better than a Nintendo game. It plays like Contra meets Jackal, which really isn't a compliment. I think it's fun. It is by Data East, but to me, it doesn't feel like a Data East game. It kind of sounds like one, I guess, maybe a little bit. And that's about it. I cannot get very far in this game, but I'm not very good at these kind of games anyway. I did own this one, and it did not get a lot of gameplay from me back in the day. How about you?
Yeah, I mean, I think actually I do own this game. I like your kind of the motorcycle, because the motorcycle is basically instant death.
Even though you don't take damage, it's still going to make you die right after.
Yeah. Somehow I don't know how you get off the motorcycle without dying. I no, seriously, I don't. Like, I don't know if there's any way to actually survive getting off the motorcycle. I mean, I don't play this genre a lot. I think I wrote down that it was better than Commando, but worse than Heavy Barrel.
Okay.
I think Heavy Barrel is probably my favorite game in this genre.
Okay.
But that's one that doesn't really emulate well, because part of what made Heavy Barrel fun was the control scheme in the arcade.
That's the one that you spin the top of the joystick?
You have two spinners, yeah. You have one spinner that controls your character, the other one that controls your firing.
Oh, I bet those controllers are really expensive now.
I bet they are, yeah. Yeah. But that was such a fun two-player game. But so when you think about like Heavy Barrel and these other games being a lot of fun, this sort of illustrates, I think, why the TurboGrafx 16 was not a success in the US. Because Bloody Wolf should be a two-player co-op game. Like this should be a two-player co-op game. No reason it isn't, except the system has one controller port.
Yeah, you need to buy a TurboTap.
You have to buy an accessory to play with friends. I mean, the TurboGrafx is the system for people with no friends.
Yes.
Right?
100%.
That's maybe why I like the system so much. Right? I'm trying to think, are there other systems? Like the 3DO technically had a single controller port too, but it had that weirdo daisy chain
Yeah, there's
system
controller ports in the controller.
in the controller, right? So you add second controllers, so you can have as many controllers as you can until lag becomes a problem.
Mm-hmm.
So that's interesting. But I mean, the single port game systems generally are not gonna do well in the U.S. I don't think.
No, I agree.
I mean, ports aren't even a concept in modern systems, but you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, if you bought the Switch and the Switch was like, sorry, only one player unless you spend an extra $50, like it wouldn't be the top selling system right now.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's all right. I mean, if you have the TurboGrafx Mini or another collection, it's definitely worth checking out. I don't think it's a bad game. It's not one I would play a ton.
Yeah, yeah. Well, want to hop to your game?
Yeah, so I did take a trip at the beginning of the month, and I typically don't like to bring my most expensive system with me. Although your most expensive system does tend to change over time. You know, like at some point my PSP might be the most expensive system I own.
Yeah, DS might be getting up there. Yeah.
Yeah, I have I don't want people to think I have a problem, but I own 4 Nintendo DSs, so I'm like I know awful that sounds.
Yeah,
but
I have 3.
I have 4.
Yeah.
And so I usually take the XL when I go on flights. So it's the original. I think they called it the DSi still. The DSi XL, because it has like this just ginormous screen in ginormous battery. So it's pretty good for airplane. And if I lost it, oh well, I guess I'm stuck with just my 2 3DSs and DS Lite or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
Like it's not the worst thing ever. So I decided to finally get around to playing Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney on the DS. So it's a series I've been kind of curious about for a while. And I mostly wanted something that I could just kind of like play for a couple weeks until Breath of the Wild 2 arrived. And it's broken up into chapters. So, you know, like I literally closed out a chapter the day before Breath of the Wild 2 came out. So I can just go pick this game back up in a few months if I feel like it. You know, the chapters are fairly discrete, you know, like they're fairly independent stories, it seems. But yeah, it's an interesting game. So like a couple years ago, I played through the Danganronpa series, which is has a sort of a similar trial mechanic. It's a different style of game. I mean, that's like an M-rated killing game where then there's trials. In Ace Attorney, you're doing some investigation, like in a Mac Venture game kind of. So you're investigating at the crime scene and talking to witnesses and police and that kind of stuff. And then you have the actual trial, which is a similar thing. If someone makes a statement and you have to go through and see if you collected some evidence in the investigation that contradicts what the person is saying on the stand, right? But what I got out of this is that if Phoenix Wright is based at all on the Japanese legal system, you should never get arrested in Japan. Because the whole legal system is like super biased towards the prosecution. So, you know, in the U.S., you know, the concept that's built into the Constitution and all that is that you don't have to prove yourself innocent of a crime. The government has to prove that you are the only person that could have committed this crime, right? And in this system, in the Phoenix Wright system, once you've been arrested, it's not adequate to prove you weren't at the scene of the crime. Because like the last chapter I finished, like you established early on that the person being charged was like not anywhere near the crime when it happened. But that's not enough. You still have to prove that a different person did it, or else your person who was not at the scene of the crime, the person you're defending, will be convicted.
Nice.
And yeah, it's absurd. Yeah. As I noted here, OJ would definitely be convicted in this legal system. Which is maybe the only good thing I could say about it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was. Yeah, I like the game. I think there's like maybe three games in the main series. So I'll probably over time work through all of them, I think.
This is one of the few that I've never played. I just did not get a chance this time. Again, like I said earlier, I was so sick I couldn't even play Zelda for a while. So
yeah,
I just did not get a chance to pick it up this time. Do you think it is a game? Knowing me, do you think it is a game I would like?
Probably not.
Okay.
I don't think I've ever heard you play a game with this. You would probably like the investigation part because it's a little bit like a point and click adventure, a little bit, you know, because you got to literally point and click on the DS at things and investigate them. But I've never really done a game of this genre before, so I don't know for sure. But
Yeah, I should definitely try it though.
I'll say maybe, like, you play through the first case, and then if you hate it, just don't play the rest.
Yeah.
If you have one of those magical DS cartridges from Amazon,
R4, yeah.
yeah, it might already be on there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, because are these getting expensive?
No, so you can get all 3 games on the Switch.
Oh, okay.
Right now.
Okay.
They released a collection of the 3 games. I just prefer to play it on DS. That's all.
Yeah.
I didn't feel like rebuying it, So I went with the just the DS version.
What are you going to play next?
Well, I was just thinking it's the start of summer, and I'm gonna do another like summer in the arcades, until Labor Day, I guess. So you can imagine being a kid in 1983 and going to the arcades all day. Little do you know that next summer the arcades won't be around. Well, 84. I mean, like, it is really sad to look at like list of games released by year, and you look at like 84, 85, and it's like, oh well, it's nothing.
Yeah.
But 83 was still like, we were putting out some really good arcade games. So I'm gonna go with Crystal Castles, 1983 arcade game. It's on Atari 50 in multiple forms. If you have Atari 50, there's the arcade version, and it has the 2600 port. I could swear there was a 5200 port, but maybe that is a fever dream. I don't even have a fever, but maybe I'm hallucinating. There's a 5200 port. We're going to include a link to the archive.org version if you want to play it in your browser.
Cool. Well, I'm going to do Astrosmash because, Intellivision is just really kicking right now.
Yeah. Now owned by I believe a German game developer.
Who is probably owned by Embracer Group.
Yeah, I don't think they are yet, but they
It will be.
They will be. Yeah. Yeah, they do. It's a company. I mean, I don't have anything against the company. They do a bunch of, it looks like they do a lot of kind of mobile, kind of casual mobile games, which people love, I think are great. And I guess they wanted to do Astro Smash and Shark, and now they can.
Yeah, I guess so. Well, if any of our listeners want to buy some IP from Intellivision, if you play Crystal Castles, Astro Smash, Phoenix Wright, Ace Attorney, Bloody Wolf, if you watch the Doom movie, if you play Doom on a thing, or have any Mr. I don't know, advice, news, whatever, please email us. Email at retrogameclub.net. That is email at retrogameclub.net. We have our link tree on here, which Zach takes care of. We have Discord server. We have Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all that stuff. So thank you for Zach for doing all that. And yeah, we have some listener feedback this time.
Yeah, I'll get it real quick here from Majors talking about Bloody Wolf. This was a TurboGrafx game that kind of grown him over time. The arcade game was fine. I don't remember the arcade game at all. But apparently wherever Arcade Majors went to had it. He got a loose copy for TurboGrafx back in the early 2010s, and then later sold it and got the Japanese version instead. The character movement systems is a little bit clunky, but the graphics are great, and the music, of course, is great too. I don't think we even talked about the soundtrack.
Not really.
But he finds the home version is more fun than the arcade version, which is interesting, partially because of the unlimited continues, I think.
That could be a topic for us. There's a lot of games that home version's better than arcade.
Yeah. And that you can even fight the last boss with just a knife. Now, I've never made it to the last boss. But there's also, he was curious if anyone knew about what hardware the original game ran on. There's some rumors that the original arcade game was basically PC Engine hardware with some extra RAM to boost performance. It was the only game released on that particular hardware variant from Data East, which is interesting. I've never looked into the arcade hardware for that.
Yeah.
And then Missile Command. So on Intellivision, there is a Missile Command clone, but it's a modern one. It's called, let's try to get this right here, called Missile Domination. It's a homebrew Intellivision game. And they also did a version with IntelliVoice support.
Ooh. Nice.
Yeah. I have an IntelliVoice. I've never I haven't seen this game, and I sort of loosely follow Intellivision Homebrew.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm trying to look at a YouTube video of this game if it ever loads here. Yeah, looks like Missile Command for sure. It's got the Intellivision font and looks yeah, I mean it looks have you seen this game?
No.
Yeah, I mean look at a video on YouTube. It's a pretty good clone. And I assume you can probably download or buy a copy from the developer if you're so inclined. All right, so thanks for all that. I was looking at the other notes here. We had some feedback, some social media feedback about Bloody Wolf. What's with Data East and the president being kidnapped? Maybe if you get far enough in Burger Time, you also save the president.
Probably, yeah.
Someone alerted us to Ace Attorney merch on fangamer.com. So I see shirts, some, various knickknacks, hoodie. If you're into, if you like Ace Attorney a lot, I guess you can get an Ace Attorney hoodie here from fangamer.com. Or you can get one from Redbubble, but it's probably not licensed. All right. Favorite video game TV shows. Some love for Captain Lou as Mario. To me, Captain Lou is the only person that can play Mario. And someone recommends, the Imperial Scrolls of Honor podcast recommends Video Power's Mega Man Week Championship is something to watch.
Yeah, that's a good episode.
So let's see. This is Video Power. I believe we watched this.
Mm-hmm.
Because the host looks kind of familiar here. And so does the weird constant changing of scenes for no particular reason. And the guy is the keyboardist. Okay, yeah, so this is the show we watched. And I guess they have a Mega Man Championship. It's 23 minutes, so I guess I'll eventually just invest some time.
Yeah, I watch it at lunch or whatever. But yeah, so thank you all for that, all the feedback. Thank you, Majors. Again, email at retrogameclub.net. I think our schedule is, we have Independence Day and stuff coming up, but I think the release schedule is finally getting back to normal. I don't even know when episodes release anymore.
Yeah, I don't know that either, I'm afraid. Sorry, YouTube is recommending more shows I might like now based on all the
nice
things. It's recommending all these like 80s kids shows that some of them I remember and some of them I don't.
That's funny.
A lot of illegal Double Dare episodes probably. I say illegal, I mean they probably are not on YouTube legally. That's something illegal happened on Double Dare.
But does that wrap up this episode?
Yeah, I think that's it. So thanks for listening.
Thank you.